Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. In Yemen, a suicide car bomb explosion killed at least 50 members of a pro-government militia earlier today. A witness in South Yemen said the attacker drove his vehicle into a crowd of new recruits in the port city of Aden. ISIS has claimed responsibility for the bombing. The attack follows U.S.-backed Saudi-led airstrikes on Friday that killed 11 civilians in northern Yemen. The strikes came just one day after Secretary of State John Kerry met with the Saudi foreign minister, where he urged a political solution to the war in Yemen. Despite the request, the U.S. continues to supply Saudi Arabia with arms. Earlier this month, the State Department approved a more than $1 billion arms deal to supply battle tanks and other weapons to the kingdom. Meanwhile, ISIS has also claimed responsibility for a suicide bomb attack on a wedding in southern Iraq on Sunday, which killed at least 15 people. Turkish airstrikes and shelling reportedly left dozens of civilians dead in northern Syria as the Turkish military and its allies pushed deeper into the war-torn country. The UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said 35 civilians died in separate attacks by Turkish forces over the weekend. Turkey's military claimed in a statement that it had killed 25 Syrian Kurdish militia members. Turkey's invasion of Syria has further complicated the 5-year war in Syria. Both Turkey and the Kurdish militias are U.S. allies. The U.S. military has confirmed the leader of ISIS was held as a U.S. prisoner at Iraq's notorious Abu Ghraib prison in 2004. An investigation by The Intercept found Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, now the leader of the so-called Islamic State, was held at the prison for 8 of his 10 months in U.S. custody that year. His detention coincided with the revelations of widespread torture at Abu Ghraib. At the time of his release, al-Baghdadi was designated a low-level prisoner. Many analysts believe he was radicalized while in U.S. custody. In Colombia, a ceasefire between rebels and the Colombian government has gone into effect, formally ending hostilities in a 52-year-old civil war that claimed an estimated 220,000 lives. Early this morning, FARC leader Timoleon Jimenez ordered his followers to lay down their arms.
In my position as commander of the FARC-EP, I order all of our leaders, all of our unites, every and each one of our combatants, to cease fire and hostilities in a definitive manner against the Colombian state from midnight tonight.
In Brazil, suspended President Dilma Rousseff will take the stand today to defend herself in an impeachment trial that's expected to lead to her ouster. Lawmakers voted to suspend Rousseff in May in what many consider a coup by her right-wing opponents. Leaked transcripts show at least one official plotted to oust Rousseff in order to end a corruption investigation targeting him. The group Transparency Brazil says 60% of Brazilian lawmakers are currently under criminal investigation or have already been convicted of crimes ranging from corruption to election fraud. After headlines, we'll go to Rio de Janeiro and speak with Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Glenn Greenwald. Germany's vice-chancellor says talks aimed at forging a massive trade agreement between the U.S. and the European Union have failed. Sigmar Gabriel, who also serves as Germany's economy minister, said Sunday the stalemate could spell the end of the proposed Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, or TTIP, TTIP, which would be the largest free trade agreement in the world. It's faced massive resistance on both sides of the Atlantic, including a 35,000-person protest in Germany ahead of Obama's visit in April. Chicago police have arrested a pair of brothers and charged them with murdering the cousin of basketball star Dwayne Wade. 32-year-old Nakia Aldrich was shot dead on Friday afternoon as she pushed her baby stroller near an elementary school in the Parkway Gardens neighborhood. Her baby was not injured. Brothers Darwin and Darren Sorrells face first-degree murder charges in the killing. Both had felony convictions and were on parole. Aldrich leaves behind 4 children. Her cousin, Chicago Bulls star Dwayne Wade, spoke out on Twitter, writing, quote, "The city of Chicago is hurting. We need more help and more hands on deck, not for me and my family, but for the future of our world, the youth," he wrote. Chicago is on track to see its highest homicide rate since 1997. This is Police Superintendent Johnson.
This tragedy isn't just noteworthy because Miss Aldridge has a famous family member. It's noteworthy because these two offenders are the prime example of the challenge we face here in Chicago with repeat gun offenders that don't care who they shoot, don't care whose life they take, and clearly don't fear the consequences of their actions.
On the campaign trail, Donald Trump is facing widespread criticism for attempting to use the killing of Nikki Aldrich to appeal to African Americans, writing on Twitter, quote, "Dwayne Wade's cousin was just shot and killed walking her baby in Chicago. Just what I've been saying, African Americans will vote Trump," he tweeted. He was met with immediate backlash for politicizing Aldrich's death and misspelling Dwayne Wade's name in the tweet. A message posted on Trump's Twitter account later offered condolences to Wade and his family. Meanwhile, former victims of racial housing discrimination at units operated by the Trump family are speaking out. In 1973, the Nixon Justice Department sued Donald and his father, Fred Trump, for discriminating against African Americans in New York. One African-American woman who was denied an apartment at Fred Trump's Wilshire Apartments in Queens spoke to the New York Times. This is May Wiggins.
It was 52 years ago. My friend and I applied for an apartment in the Wilshire in Queens, New York, and we were both told that there were no vacancies. I realized that there were vacancies because they still had the ads running, and I was pretty sure it was because of the color of our skin. I have always felt that the Trump organization was biased, and I will go to my grave with that thought.
According to the New York Times, the first time Donald Trump was mentioned in the paper was in 1973 in a front-page article headlined, "Major Landlord Accused of Anti-Black Bias in City," unquote. The 1973 article quoted Donald Trump responding to the charges. He said, quote, "They are absolutely ridiculous. We never have discriminated and we never would," unquote. The Trump family settled with the Justice Department in 1975 with a consent decree they were later accused of breaking. Donald Trump's new campaign chief, Steve Bannon, is facing questions about domestic abuse, alleged anti-Semitic comments, and apparent voter fraud. Steve Bannon was charged in 1996 with misdemeanor domestic violence, battery, and dissuading a witness. A Santa Monica, California police report said Bannon grabbed his then-wife, Mary Louise Picard, by the throat and arm and threatened to leave with the couple's twin daughters. Bannon pleaded not guilty to the charges, which were dropped later that year when Picard did not appear in court. She claimed in divorce proceedings that Bannon pressured her not to testify. She also said in a sworn 2007 court filing that Bannon made anti-Semitic comments when the two argued over whether to send their daughters to a private school. According to one document, Picard said, quote, "He said that he doesn't like the way they raise their kids to be whiny brats and that he didn't want the girls going to school with Jews," unquote. Meanwhile, Bannon changed his voter registration over this past weekend after The Guardian reported he was registered in an empty home where he doesn't live. The house in Miami-Dade County, Florida, is vacant and due to be demolished to make way for a new development. Following the report, Bannon re-registered to vote in Florida's Sarasota County at the single-family home of a former colleague at the right-wing website, Breitbart News. Bannon was the head of Breitbart until 2 weeks ago, when he took over at the helm of Donald Trump's election campaign. California Judge Aaron Persky will no longer hear criminal cases following outrage over lenient sentences he handed down to sexual offenders. Persky became the subject of a recall campaign after he sentenced Stanford University swimmer Brock Turner to a 6-month prison term for sexually assaulting an unconscious woman behind a dumpster. In 2015, Judge Persky gave a 4-day sentence to a man found guilty of possessing child abuse images. He will be reassigned to a civil court in San Jose at his own request. President Barack Obama has expanded a national monument near the Hawaiian Islands, creating the world's largest marine reserve. The designation quadruples the size of the protected habitat, making it more than twice the size of Texas. The area is home to some 7,000 species. Lawmakers in the state of Maine are considering holding a special session to censure Republican Governor Paul LePage. He recently described African Americans and Latinos as, quote, the enemy, and suggested they need to be shot.
Bad guy's a bad guy. I don't care what color it is. When you go to war, if you know the enemy dresses in red and you dress in blue, you shoot at red, don't you? Ken? You've been in uniform. You shoot at the enemy. You try to identify the enemy. And the enemy right now, the overwhelming majority of people coming in are people of color or people of Hispanic origin.
Maine Governor Paul LePage is also facing criticism for leaving an obscenity-filled voicemail for a Democratic lawmaker in Maine.
Governor Paul Richard LePage, I would like to talk to you about your comments about my being a racist. And I want to talk to you. I want you to prove that I'm a racist. I've spent my life helping black people, and you little son of a socialist, I need you to, I want you to record this and make it public because I am after you. Thank you.
Governor LePage was the second governor to endorse Donald Trump. Police in Oklahoma have released body camera video showing an officer pepper spraying an 84-year-old African-American woman in her own home. The video shows Muskogee officers kicking in the door of Geneva Smith's residence on August 7th as they pursued her son for allegedly running a traffic stop sign and fleeing from police. The son, Arthur Paul Blackman, is seen holding his hands up as an officer shoots him in the torso with a taser while he's standing inside the house. The video also shows police ordering his elderly mother to turn around. She appears confused about why police are in her home at 2:45 in the morning. After 40 seconds, police pepper sprayed her in the face. Smith told Tulsa TV channel Fox 23 she's planning to sue.
I just come out and asked them what was going on, and they just pepper sprayed me. They handcuffed me and drugged me out to the car and put me in there and carried me to jail.
Geneva Smith says she was first taken to jail but was later hospitalized after she became ill from being pepper sprayed in the face. A star quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers refused to rise for the national anthem before a preseason NFL game Friday in a protest against police brutality and solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement. Colin Kaepernick remained seated while his teammates stood for the playing of the Star-Spangled Banner ahead of a match against the Green Bay Packers. Explaining his protest to NFL.com, Kaepernick said, quote, "I am not going to stand up to show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses black people and people of color. To me, this is bigger than football, and it would be selfish on my part to look the other way. There are bodies in the street and people getting paid leave and getting away with murder," unquote. In a news conference, Kaepernick also vowed to continue to sit during the national anthem.
I'll continue to sit. I'm going to continue to stand with the people that are being oppressed. To me, this is something that has to change, and when there's significant change, and I feel like that flag represents what it's supposed to represent, and this country is representing people the way that it's supposed to, I'll stand.
The legendary singer Beyoncé wowed audiences at the MTV Video Music Awards Sunday night, performing a 15-minute medley of songs from her album Lemonade. Beyoncé invited to the gala several mothers of African-American men killed by police or vigilantes, including Wanda Johnson, mother of Oscar Grant, Leslie McSpadden, mother of Michael Brown, and Gwen Carr, mother of Eric Garner, as well as Sabrina Fulton, mother of Trayvon Martin. McSpadden and Fulton appeared in the video for Beyoncé's song Freedom, holding pictures of their dead sons. And the legendary Mexican singer Juan Gabriel has died at the age of 66. Known as Latino Elvis, he sold more than 100 million records, making him one of the most popular stars in Latin America. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.